There is a place, there is a moment, there is a feeling, an escape from your ordinary way. There is a place, there is a time, there is a reason to make today an extraordinary day. Look what you're missing, look what you're missing. There's a world for you to see, paradise to set you free. Look what you're missing, look what you're missing. Come along, I'll take you there, an adventure we can share. There is a place.
Hello again, I'm Warren Elwood and welcome to the second season of Look What You're Missing. It's the TV series that is once again going to show you that the very best way to experience your country, or any country for that matter, is to ride a motorcycle through it.
Hi guys, I'm Henk Kutsia, and just as we did in the first series, we're going to take you on a whole new set of multi-day motorcycle rides out of Cape Town, where the aim is to meet new people, see amazing things and have some awesome new experiences, and learn the history, legends and stories of the places as we travel along.
And again, we're going to be sharing with you as much information and as many tips as possible so that your journeys start off a little safer and easier right from the get-go. We also have a whole host of experts lined up who are going to give you some really awesome technical advice along the way. Now we start off the first episode of this new series a little differently because we find ourselves at the Zone 7 motocross and enduro circuits just north of Cape Town. And we're here just riding laps on our smaller enduro bikes. And it's fitting, if you'll excuse the pun, because this time on Look What You're Missing, we're going north to explore, amongst others, an area simply called the Sandveld.
And one of the things we want to do in this trip is find out exactly how a rooibos tea goes from a weedy looking bush to one of the finest cuppas you can have. And besides revealing the beauty of the Sandveld, we'll also try and show you, as best we can, a couple of the finest off-road passes in the Cederberg area on our way home in a few days' time.
But first, when you get tired and fatigued on your motorcycle, well, that's when mistakes start to happen, and the chances of having an accident become much higher.
To be fairly fit is to enjoy your motorcycle that much more. Now, riding an adventure bike won't really help you get overly fit, but riding this will, and it'll improve your riding skills at the same time.
Unfortunately, not everyone is able to or has the time to ride enduro bikes as much as they'd like. So the next best thing is some form of physical training. Now, if you're going to train specifically for the bike, well, then it's your core, your legs and your back muscles that are going to need the most attention.
And we do spend a fair amount of time in the gym, even though, it doesn't really look like it.
Well, we have just finished saying that everything will be more or less the same as it was in season 1. So in line with that, and even though we haven't mentioned it for more than a year, more or less, I'm still not much of a mountain biker, but I am getting better. In fact, recently, I managed to cycle up a small mountain climb without stopping once.
What? You're talking about last weekend? That wasn't exactly a mountain. It was all like a small hill. And it wasn't even that steep. So let's have a look at something we filmed when we asked a personal trainer about the basics of keeping yourself in shape, with some emphasis on the core, the legs and your back.
Hi, my name is Sensa Antoni Mans. I'm a qualified personal trainer with 13 years experience. I'm also a 4th degree black belt in traditional Okinawan and Goju karate. I have 20 years experience training with Sensei Baki Slopsher, our chief instructor and mentor. As a motorcycle rider myself, I can pick up on the benefits of martial arts and fitness training with regards to motorcycling. And so I'm going to give you a brief rundown on what you can do to stay in shape for long days on the bike. Being somewhat fit will improve both aspects, safety as well as fun for riding on your bike. When getting fatigued, it has a negative effect on your riding. Not only the physical part for managing G-forces from accelerating, braking as well as turning, but also psychological. Impaired judgment, slow reaction time, all of these will put you at greater risk of crashes. For long days in the saddle, you are going to need a strong core, back as well as legs. You're obviously not going to ignore the rest of your body, and therefore we're going to have to put in some aerobic exercises to keep your stamina high. Before we start, you should always spend some time doing some stretches and warm-ups. This will go a long way to preventing injuries. Our first exercise is called Chisi. It's a combination exercise utilizing multiple joints as well as proper posture. Very good for upper body and legs, and especially improving power and stability in your wrists, elbows, shoulders and your core. Tigers utilize more practical movement than the traditional push-up. It also strengthens the upper body in a more functional way, especially for biking. Takoashi, once again working the muscle groups in unison to combine squats and lunges, as well as improving stability for your ankles, knees and hips. Because proper posture is crucial to the proper form of all these exercises, the core is always working and activated. But for additional core training, sit-ups on a balance ball is very effective. Right, cardio. For a brilliant cardio workout without even leaving your house, you could just do something as simple as burpees. Add a push-up for extra intensity. Then there's the more traditional running, walking, or many top motorcyclists believe very firmly in cycling. Get a mountain bike and get out there. It's really excellent exercise. If you feel that you won't be able to do this on your own, feel free to contact me or visit our website and see which dojo is closest to you. We will be more than happy to help you get in shape.
The Sandveld can be described as the area between Piketberg, Veldrift and Vredendal. It is a place where the sun shines more and the rain falls less. And if you take your time, you will discover many hidden treasures here.
And from Cape Town, there are a few different ways to get to the Sandveld. You can go up the west coast, you could go through the Swartland, you could even go out of Ceres, following the Groot-Winterhoek mountain range until you finally drop down into Citrusdal using the Middelburg passes.
But this time we've decided to go up through the Swartland, and our destination for the night is the Boegeberg campsite in the Engelsmanse Berge. Now while Boegeberg is within 200 kilometers of Cape Town, there are so many interesting things to see and little roads to ride to get there that we need to take a day.
The Swartland region starts roughly 50 kilometers north of Cape Town and falls between the towns of Malmesbury in the south, Darling in the west, Piketberg in the north, and Riebeek West and Riebeek Kasteel in the east. Jan van Riebeek called this softly undulating country between the mountain ranges the Black Land because of the endemic renosterbush. After the winter rains, the renosterbush takes on a dark appearance when viewed from a distance. These wide fertile plains are the breadbasket of Cape Town, with the patchwork of wheat fields stretching almost as far as the eye can see in all directions, interspersed by wine, fruit and vegetable farms. The Swartland is also home to the oldest colonial hotel in South Africa, the Royal Hotel in Riebeek Kasteel.
An adventure we can share.
So staying true to form, well, almost. We start off this journey proper with one of the Cape's fantastic tar passes, and this time it's the Versveld Pass that links Piketberg and the mysterious area known as Piketboerberg. While we could quite happily spend a day or three exploring up here on top of the mountain, the only reason we're coming up here today is so that we can ride down on the other side of the mountain on what's known as the Januarisfontein Pass.
But before we get to that, let's just have a quick look at the Versveld Pass. Now what's most interesting to me is the fact that the director of Look What You're Missing is a distant relative of John Versveld, the man behind this little piece of motorcycle heaven.
The sandstone cliffs of the Piketberg Mountains rise like a fortress above the little town. And it was on top of these that John Versveld would spend many hours staring down at the little town of Piketberg, dreaming of a way to get there faster than the original route, which took one down the Januarisfontein Pass off the back of the mountain, through the small settlement of Goedverwacht, and then all the way around the mountain to Piketberg. He eventually came up with a plan and started working in 1889 with just 20 labourers and an overseer, and finished the pass in an astounding 3 months. Interestingly, since then, besides tarring it, nothing too major has been done to it. It was just about perfect to start with.
So behind me are the first few kilometers of the Januarisfontein Pass. And although we couldn't find out too much information on the history or the origins of this pass, one look at Google Earth will show you that to our ancestors looking to farm the fertile lands up here on top of the mountain, this was by far the easiest route to build a track on. Fortunately for us, it's not the easiest anymore.
Although only 9 kilometers long, the Januarisfontein Pass is definitely worth the time and trouble when you are riding a motorcycle. For the most part, you will be riding along a jeep track, and depending on the time of year, you might encounter a sprinkling of sand, a couple of ruts, and 1 or 2 sections where the gradient will become close to being described as steep. But the scenery on the way down is well worth it.
The Januarisfontein Pass ends in the quaint little village mission station of Goedverbach, originally established as a cattle farm way back in 1810. But as usual, we've discovered a fairly interesting story of how this became a Moravian mission station.
Goedverbach is situated just off the R399 near Piketberg and originally belonged to one Hendrik Burger. When he realized that the emancipation of the slaves was near, he requested that his slave Manisa, her 5 children and son-in-law stay on the farm to care for him until his death. He also left the farm to Manisa and her children with the instructions that when all her children had died, their descendants would then sell the farm and divide the proceeds. His own kin challenged the will in court, but it was twice upheld and the farm remained in Manisa's family until 1888, when her last child Hester died. It was then decided that instead of selling the farm on an open auction, it would be sold to the Moravian missionaries for £750. The church and parsonage were built by the villagers themselves and are all constructed of local stone. Other interesting buildings include the school, the mission store, and the watermill, which now houses the town museum.
And from here, we do need to get back to heading north. So we're going to go and get on the R399 towards Veldrift for about 12 kilometers, and then we're going to turn off right. Because there's no better way to get north from here than by riding through the charming Kapteinskloof.
The Kapteinskloof area started as a hunting concession granted to Governor Simon van der Stel's brother, Adrian, in the late 1600s, when the whole area teemed with game. And later the Griqua leader Adam Kok had his constituency in the Kapteinskloof after he was emancipated in 1751. The Kapteinskloof Road winds its way through the harmonious farms, situated along it in the valley, and eventually goes up past the Banghoek Private Nature Reserve, where it becomes a wild mountain pass from which you drop down onto the broad plain of the Matanzhoek Valley. The legend tells that the name Banghoek was coined before 1849, after the governor experienced a chance face-to-face meeting with a very large rhino. The views over the Matanzhoek Valley are pretty impressive from the top of this pass.
Well, that was pretty special. And from here, there are 2 distinctly different ways we can use to get to our campsite for the evening. But we'd be missing out ourselves if we didn't go and have a ride over the Pikkeneeskloof Pass, which not so long ago was completely reworked and retarred, making it absolutely awesome for motorcycles.
So we're heading there, and at the top of the pass we'll turn off to follow the Palacio Road, just past the Carducci restaurant. In fact, I think we might even stop there for some refreshments.
Today, we can race over the Pikkeneeskloof Pass in a matter of minutes. Not that we want to, though. But spare a thought for the early explorers who needed many days, if not weeks, to make this crossing. Before the arrival of the Dutch at the Cape, the Khoikhoi crossed the mountain range along a trail that was originally made by migratory animals. In 1857, the well-known pass builder, Thomas Bain, constructed Grey's Pass over the mountain and named it after Governor Sir George Grey. The modern pass that today crosses the Olifants River Mountains between Piketberg and Citrusdal was built in 1960, and the original name was reinstated. The name Pikkeneeskloof is derived from the pikemen or Piccaninnies deployed by the government to defend the farmers from raiding Khoikhoi parties from as early as 1675.
say God's windows up in Mpumalanga somewhere, but I don't know. I think South Africa is full of God's windows, and this will surely be one of them.
An adventure we can share.
When you first get on the Palacieville Road heading north, you might think you're in for a bit of a boring ride, but don't despair, because soon you will find yourself riding through an enchanting landscape filled with stupendous views and surprising rock formations. And just when you think you're getting used to the landscape, you'll come across a set of cheerful gravel road passes that flow straight into a tight and twisted tar road that'll have you changing direction and elevation almost every 30 meters. It's like the last thrill before you get to the campsite. Or is it?
Actually, depending on the conditions, you might just find the driveway to Lumber Trip has a little bit of everything, except the tar twisties. So just as you think it's over, it might just all begin again.
Boegeberg 4x4 is the home of Sabri and Issa de Beer. It is situated on the farm Lambert's Hoek in the Engelsmanse Berge, overlooking Graafwater, Elands Bay, Lambert's Bay and Klein Willem. The main source of income is rooibos tea, which is well known to the area. But in days past, Boege was harvested high in the mountains, and the need to get to the plants via many mountain tracks is how this fantastic 4x4 trail originated. The old donkey wagon trail has been transformed into a very popular 4x4 trail, climbing high into the mountains to the Platklip viewpoint, where panoramic views await you.
Now I know we keep saying this, but this campsite is really top class. Just look at the attention to detail in everything, from the fantastic places to pitch your tent, the Lapa rooms, the Lapa itself, and possibly one of the most effective donkey water heaters we've ever come across.
And there's cold beer, but the highlight for this row neck is the food, and tonight we've been treated to the best of both worlds, a spit braai with all the trimmings prepared by the entire De Beer family. And I have insider information because I've been here before, so I just know these folks are going to be blown away by the food tonight.
Het is een combinatie om te gaan stap, want omdat die natuurskoon so mooi is hier in die berg in, veral na die winter, is nou maar verskriklik droog, maar as dit nou gereën het, oral is waterstroom, al die plante, al die fynbosblom. En voëlkykers, ons wat lief is vir voëlkyk, hier is verskriklik baie voëlspesies, so die ons kom daarvoor en kinders swem heeldag hier so in die swembad en die damme is nou baie leeg, maar die visse is nog steeds daar. Jy kan hulle nou amper met 'n net skep.
gaan uithaal.
2003, 2004 en 2005. Vir daai 3 jare was ons roete onder die top 10 gewees. En dit het nogal gemaak dat baie ons die roete wil kom ry, want dit is 'n baie gewilde roete gewees. Julle was seker van die eerste wat dit toe met die kleiner motorfietsies gery het. En nadat julle weg is, het ek my bakkie gevat, nou ry ek en sien ek maar die ouens het nie regtig so baie skade aan die pad. Ek het nou gedink jy gaan al die klippe losspin, maar blyk toe besef ek maar ons kan maar die motorfiets ouens wat ry. So hier kom gereeld manne nou met hulle klein motorfietsies. Nou ons het baie ouens wat kom om 'n bergfiets te kom ry. En dan is daar nou manne met hierdie fietsse met die breë wiele, hulle kan nou in die sand gaan ry. Kyk, ek dink dit is omdat julle gereeld hier na toe kom en jy het basies maar die mark geskep vir die motorfiets ouens, want julle kom baie hier na toe. So baie dankie daarvoor. Ja. En dit is hoekom ons daai kamers ook begin bou. Dis nie net vir myself om in te bly oor Desember maand nie. Dit is julle motorfiets ouens kom soos nou die naweek jy sluit die deur oop en daar's 'n bed met beddegoed en 'n yskas en 'n stoof. En ons maak etes en ons organise vleis, braaipakke en goed vir ons.
Sabri, as julle nou oor die besige tye Desember en so aan is, dan julle trek letterlik self hier tussen die mense in, julle die kamers, hoe werk daai storie?
Ja, ons kom bly vir basies 'n maand, kom bly ons dan by die kampplek. Want ons kry nie mense in, families van my gaan jy werk oor Desember, dat jy nou weet. Want kyk, ek het 'n ding in die aande moet ek by elke kampplek omgaan om net vir die ouens te vra of alles reg is voor hulle gaan slaap.
Ja.
Nou dan begin ek nou so 5 uur kan hier gaan ek om. En so by 10:00 as ek dan nog net by die derde kamp.
Dan kan jy nie meer
Dan gaan ek
loop
nou maar
nie,
terug huis toe. En dan môre aand gaan ek nou weer verder aan.
Die volgende vas.
Maar jy bou sulke goeie vriendskappe op met die mense wat die kamp. Dit is hoekom ons mense kry wat vir 3 weke oor Desember kom kamp. So as die ouens Desember maand uitgaan, dan boek hulle weer hulle plekke want hy wil daai spesifieke plek hê. En dit is wat dit lekker maak.
Now while we're waiting for dinner to be served, let's have a quick look at carry-on food on bike trips. Now while it's fairly easy on these 3 or 4 day trips where routes are interspersed with towns to make sure you don't go hungry, and many places of accommodation like this one will prepare you an awesome meal. But what should you be eating when you're not near a food source?
Food equals energy. It's as simple as that. Just as you wouldn't let your bike run out of petrol, so you need to make sure that you don't either. The first tip is never to skip breakfast. Heading out on an empty stomach is just as stupid as riding out on a long Karoo road with an empty tank. Performance? Zero. You need to fuel your body to fire on all cylinders. A high carbohydrate, high sugar breakfast may give you energy for a short while, but it's not going to last. Rather, opt for a balanced breakfast, something with eggs, bacon, some oats, yogurt. Don't forget the dried fruit and nuts, and always have a cup of coffee. After breakfast, you need to sustain your energy, and the best way to do that is regular snacking. But of course, not snacks high in carbohydrates and sugar. The best foods for snacking is biltong, dried fruit, nuts, some whole grain crackers and seeds, and of course fresh fruit. But things get slightly more complicated when traveling on a motorcycle. Bananas, for example, are an excellent source of energy, but are not as feasible to pack on a motorbike or to eat whilst riding. Even a non-biker can tell you that. This is where dried fruit are so convenient. They are easy to pack and easy to eat whilst riding. They will also not spoil in your backpack after a day of riding, like fresh fruit. Of course, it is easy to grab a chocolate bar, but the key on any trip is to find that happy medium between staying away from foods that is high in sugar and bad fats and snacking regularly on low GI foods with natural sugars and good fats. The bottom line is that eating right will increase your enjoyment of the journey. So make sure that next time you put more thought into what snacks you pack for your trip. Safe travel!
And on that tasty note, it is actually time to go back down for supper. And unfortunately, we're also out of time. But make sure you tune in next week, where we're going to show you one of the most magnificent passes in the Cederberg mountain range.
And tell you where to get some of the finest wines available in South Africa.
Until then,
Ride safe.
look after yourselves.
Look what you're missing. Look what you're missing. Come along, I'll take you there. An adventure we can share. Look what you're missing. Look what you're missing. Come along, I'll take you there. An adventure we can share. There is a place, there is a moment, there is a feeling, an escape from your ordinary way.